The moment my fiancée laughed, she said, "You really thought I was ever loyal? You're pathetic and blind." I stared her down and walked out. Days later, her boss was frantically calling me after everything leaked. "You work your whole damn life trying to build something solid. Career, home, stability. You grind, you hustle, you sacrifice." That's exactly what I did. I wasn't looking for drama. I wasn't chasing wild stories. I just wanted a normal, strong life with the right woman. And for a while, I honestly thought I found her. Emily walked into my life like she was made for it. Smart, sharp, beautiful. The kind of woman who knew how to light up a room without even trying. She knew how to make me feel like all the late nights and early mornings were worth something. We were engaged within 2 years. The wedding was planned, families involved, everything moving fast. On paper? Perfect. In reality? I was the last fool in the room to realize the joke was on me. The small lies were always there if I'm being real. Late work meetings. Random business trips. Private texts she'd quickly hide when I walked into the room. And every damn time I asked, she'd flip it. "You're being insecure again. Don't ruin what we have." And like an idiot, I let it slide. Not because I believed her lies, but because I wanted to believe in us. But let me tell you something. There comes a point where your gut gets so damn loud you can't ignore it anymore. And that moment was coming. Truth is, when you're a grown man, you start seeing patterns. And once you've been burned a few times in life, your gut sharpens up. I mean, let's be real. You know when something's off, even if your head's trying to play nice and pretend everything's cool. And with Emily? My gut was screaming long before my brain caught up. There were little signs at first, stuff you almost want to laugh off. A few random new work friends I'd never heard of. Sudden trips out of town that couldn't wait till Monday. And then the texts. You know the kind, the ones where she'd tilt her phone just enough, screen facing away, locking it the second I glanced over. When I asked, she'd give me that sweet voice. "You don't trust me, do you? After everything we've built?" Honestly, I wanted to trust her. God knows I did. I was building a future with this woman, house, wedding, kids down the road. I didn't want to be that guy who accuses his fiancée over every little thing. But every damn time I gave her the benefit of the doubt, she pocketed it like free money. And like a fool, I kept handing it out. For what it's worth, that was on me. But like I said, your gut only stays silent for so long. Eventually, even the biggest fool starts connecting the dots. And brother, once I started looking for the dots, there were plenty. Way too many. It started small. It always does, doesn't it? You know, little things you almost feel stupid for even noticing. The way my fiancée Emily started working late a bit more often. Deadlines. She'd say with that soft voice, giving me a kiss like nothing's wrong. Yeah, right. Then it was the random girls' nights. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the jealous type. Man's gotta trust his woman. But every weekend? Seriously? Come on. And the worst part? Every time I asked, I was the bad guy. She'd cross her arms, tilt her head, give me that pity stare. "You know, you really need to work on your trust issues," she said once. I mean, let's be real, I'm not 12. You can't gaslight a grown man forever. But still, I tried. Because that's what we do, right? We hold the damn line. Long story short, I ignored my gut longer than I should have. That's on me. But then her best friend slipped up after a few too many drinks one night. We were at a small get-together, nothing crazy, just some friends, beer, music. Out of nowhere, her friend leans in and goes, "Honestly, I don't know how you're this chill with everything Emily's got going on." I paused. "What do you mean by that?" She froze for a second, smiled all nervous. "Oh, nothing. Just, you know, work is so stressful for her." Yeah, sure thing. That's when my gut finally said, "Wake up, man." From that point on, I started watching closer. The late-night texts she quickly deleted. The extra makeup before her so-called meetings. The calls she took in the car while parked down the block. And every time I tried to gently bring it up, same damn routine. "You're paranoid. This is why I don't tell you things." Unbelievable. You've got to be kidding me. And here's the thing, I didn't lose my cool. Not once. Because if I've learned anything in life, it's that emotions make you sloppy. So instead, I started preparing. Quietly. Patiently. So, once my radar switched on, I stopped playing nice. I wasn't about to turn into some paranoid wreck, following her around like a fool. No, that's not how a man handles this. Instead, I started collecting. Quietly. You know, people like Emily always think they're 10 steps ahead because they're running around playing some cheap little soap opera in their heads. But they forget, some of us pay attention. For what it's worth, it didn't even take much. One day, she left her tablet unlocked. Rookie mistake. I'm not proud of what I did next, but let's be real, at that point, the rules were already broken. And man, once I scrolled through those messages, it was like flipping through a full season of betrayal. Different names, different times, different hotels. I mean, seriously? She even had the nerve to save some of these clowns as work contact or training lead. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. And then there it was, one thread that made my blood run cold. Some guy, her manager, apparently, texting her. You know he's too dumb to ever figure it out. As long as you keep smiling, he'll stay clueless. You've got to be kidding me. Clueless? Really? That's rich. You think just 'cause I'm not throwing tantrums, I'm blind? I sat there for a long minute, breathing steady. This was beyond disrespect. This was war. And you know what? In all fairness, part of me wasn't even mad, not yet. I was focused. Because bottom line? Now I knew exactly what kind of game we were playing. The next few days I acted normal. Smiling. Dinner. Netflix. Even bought her flowers. Whatever works for you, sweetheart. I wanted her comfortable. I needed her thinking she still had the upper hand. She had no idea I was already putting my pieces in place. Contacts. Screenshots. Financial documents. Everything that would matter when this blew up. Because trust me, when you come for everything I've built, you better believe I'm coming back for everything you've touched. The next phase? Well, let's just say, it was time to tighten the noose slowly. Honestly, you'd be amazed how easy it is to watch people expose themselves when they think they're in control. I didn't even need to snoop much after that. Emily basically handed me everything on a silver platter. Every night she'd sit next to me on the couch, scrolling on her phone like nothing's wrong. You know, typical, fake laughter, forced conversations. She probably thought she was so smooth. Yeah, right. But every notification that popped up, I caught it. Different names. Some repeated. Some new. The arrogance was unreal. Like I said, unbelievable. So while she was busy juggling her little circus, I was handling my business. I quietly got a buddy of mine from IT to pull backup copies of our shared cloud drive, you know, just in case certain files, magically, disappeared later. I also started meeting with a lawyer. Discreetly. And no, not some cheap one, we're talking about a real shark. One of those guys who doesn't blink when you say infidelity mixed with corporate HR violations. Because let's be real, her little affairs weren't just screwing up our relationship. They were violating multiple HR codes at her job, considering who she was sleeping with. HR takes that very seriously when it's management involved. My lawyer grinned when he saw the evidence. She has no idea how screwed she is. I nodded. Good. Keep it that way. Meanwhile, at home? Business as usual. I kept being the loving, clueless fiancé. We still went out to dinners. She still posted those fake happy couple selfies. My friends kept asking, "Man, you good? You seem a little off lately." I just smiled. "I'm fine, just work stress." No way was I spilling this before the hammer dropped. I had one shot at this, and I wasn't about to waste it by losing my cool. Because bottom line? She crossed the line. And when you cross that line with me, you better be ready for what's coming. Trust me, I've been there, done that, and I don't play emotional games. I handle my business. Quietly. Thoroughly. And when it hits hard. Thing is, once you start seeing the cracks, you can't unsee them. Honestly, at that point, I couldn't believe how damn sloppy Emily got. You'd think for someone who thought she was playing 4D chess, she'd at least cover her tracks better. But nah, ridiculous. I mean, seriously? Keeping hotel receipts in her purse? Notifications from work meetings popping up at 11 p.m.? Spare me. But you know what? Whatever. I wasn't about to tip my hand. The more she slipped, the more rope she gave me. And I was happy to let her hang herself. For what it's worth, I've learned over the years, patience is brutal, but it pays. Every evening I'd sit there, sipping my drink while she made up another late meeting. And every time she walked out that door, I smiled. Sure thing, babe. Handle your business. I'd say. Yeah, that'll work. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Dates, locations, names. I even started recording our home conversations, for my own protection, obviously. No surprise there. Half of what she said sounded rehearsed anyway. One night, after one of her so-called late strategy sessions, she came home a bit too cheerful. She sat across from me, smiling that fake little grin, and out of nowhere dropped. You know, you really don't have the ambition to move up in your career, babe. I'm doing all this to help us. Someone has to. Are you kidding? That's rich. I locked eyes with her and calmly said, by all means, you do you. And she took that as permission to keep going. Truth is, I was letting her feel safe, comfortable. The more arrogant she got, the more leverage I was building. She even started getting bolder with the spending. Expensive dinners charged to our joint card. Luxury hotel stays that didn't even match her work trips. Let's be real, I let it all stack up. Long story short, I wasn't just aiming for emotional revenge. I was building a financial case too. Because when this came down, it wasn't just going to be her heartbreaking, it was going to be her career, her wallet, her entire little house of cards. And trust me, I've been there before, and I've seen how fast these people crumble when you take away their safety nets. Happens every time. By the time spring rolled around, honestly, I had more evidence stacked up than I ever thought I'd need. Screenshots, call logs, credit card statements, hotel receipts, you name it, I had it. At this point, I wasn't even mad anymore. That's the crazy part. You know that feeling? When you're so far past angry that it's just cold calculation? Yeah, that's where I was. She thought she was living her best double life. What a joke. And I just let her keep thinking that. Typical. Then came the company gala. Oh man, you couldn't script this stuff better. We walked in together like everything was fine. She was wearing this overpriced dress that I knew was charged to our joint card, by the way. Ridiculous. Her boss, yeah, him, was there too, with his wife. Now here's where it got interesting. They kept glancing at each other across the room like a couple of high school kids who thought nobody noticed. Give me a break. You've got to be kidding me. You're both pushing 40. Act like adults. But again, I kept my poker face. Small talk, handshakes, fake smiles. Honestly, it was kind of fun watching them sweat under their own stupidity. At one point, her boss comes up to me, all buddy-buddy, and goes, "Man, you're lucky to have her. She's a real asset to the company." I looked him dead in the eye, smiled, and said, "Yeah, she's full of surprises." No surprise there. He didn't catch the hint. Too busy playing his own game. Later that night, when we got home, she tried to get all cozy again, acting like nothing ever happened. She poured us some wine and said, "I'm so proud of how far we've come." I mean, seriously? That's rich. I stared at her for a second and just said, "Yeah, we've definitely come a long way." She smiled, thinking I was eating up the act. But let's be real, I was counting down the days until I flipped this whole thing upside down. Bottom line, she had no clue what was coming. For what it's worth, I even started getting legal advice behind the scenes. My attorney? Sharp guy. When I laid everything out, even he was like, "Wow, you've really built a hell of a case here." And all I could say was, "Yeah, well, she built it for me. I just kept the receipts." The funny part? The more I let her think she was getting away with it, the bolder she became. I mean, seriously? She was starting to slip. She'd text him while we were literally sitting next to each other on the couch. Like I wouldn't notice her smirking at her phone and flipping it face down every time I looked over. Yeah, right. You've got to be kidding me. It was almost insulting how sloppy she got. And the calls, oh man. "Work emergency," she'd say, grabbing her purse at 9 p.m. Sure thing. Work emergencies apparently happen at hotel bars now. Not even surprised. Same old story. But I let her run with it. Go figure. The deeper she dug herself, the cleaner my exit would be. And believe me, I was already working my angles. My buddy Josh, sharp guy in finance, helped me move most of my assets quietly. I set up new accounts, closed old ones, secured my investments. By the time she'd figure out anything, she'd be standing in an empty vault. And I made sure to keep all the paper trails clean, nothing she could claim half of. You know, man's gotta handle his business. Meanwhile, her boss, the genius, started getting reckless too. Public lunches, the little touches, the inside jokes at corporate meetings. Honestly, it was almost embarrassing how obvious they were. I caught him once patting her back a little too long during some boring quarterly review. I just leaned back, crossed my arms and thought, "Keep talking, buddy. Keep digging." Frankly, watching them was like front row seats to their own demolition show. Then came the HR incident. That was my first small opening. Some anonymous tip came in, wonder who sent it, huh? About inappropriate conduct between senior staff and subordinates. HR opened a preliminary investigation. My fiancée came home that night unusually quiet. She tried acting normal, pouring a glass of wine, sitting close. But you know that feeling? That heavy silence where both sides know the game's shifting? Yeah, that was it. I sipped my drink, looked at her, and said casually, "Rough day at work?" She froze for half a second, barely noticeable. But for me, that was everything. "You know, just office politics," she mumbled, forcing a smile. I nodded. "Well, you know what they say. What's done in the dark always comes to light." Her smile twitched, but she played it cool. Bottom line? The cracks were showing. And I was about to blow the whole damn thing wide open. A week later, HR made their next move. They called a formal hearing. "Anonymous complaints require official statements now," they told her. Well, isn't that cute? My fiancée tried to play it like nothing was serious, kept feeding me lines like, "It's just jealous coworkers stirring drama." Yeah, right. Same old story. Frankly, by that point, I was barely even pretending anymore. I just let her keep talking, nodding along like a fool. Truth is, I already had a copy of the emails. I had screen recordings of their little chats, some even during work hours. For what it's worth, I even managed to grab a few recordings from our shared laptop when she forgot to log out of her messaging apps. "That's Rich," she once told her boss. "He's too stupid to catch on. I've got him exactly where I want." Unbelievable. You've got to be kidding me. But that was good. That kind of arrogance always leaves fingerprints. So, one evening, after her HR meeting, she comes home looking completely drained. "Rough day?" I asked with a smirk. She forces a laugh. "Nothing I can't handle, babe." "Sure thing," I replied. Bottom line? She was cracking. And here's where it gets even better. Her boss calls me. Yeah, him. That genius actually had the nerve to call me like some concerned friend. "Hey man, just wanted to check if everything's alright between you two. You know, office gossip can really get ugly. Thought maybe we should all talk." I swear, for a moment I couldn't believe the level of audacity. I let him ramble for a bit, then calmly cut him off. "Don't push it. You crossed the line. Handle your business." There was this silence on the other end, the kind where both men know exactly who holds the cards now. He mumbled something about clearing things up and hung up quick. Go figure. Not gonna lie, I actually enjoyed that part. I mean, seriously? You thought you could play both games and walk away clean? Give me a break. Meanwhile, HR was digging deeper. And I fed the investigation exactly what it needed, anonymously, of course. The emails, the hotel receipts, even a little footage from security cameras I may or may not have gotten my hands on. Long story short, they weren't ready for how fast this was about to fall apart. And neither was she. Honestly, at that point it was like watching a slow-motion train wreck that you built yourself. You know it's coming, you see every piece flying off the rails, but you just sit back with a drink and enjoy the view. After the HR hearing, word started spreading in the office. Let's be real, corporate gossip travels faster than any official memo. My phone was lighting up with texts from coworkers who used to barely say 2 words to me before. "Hey man, just checking on you." Sure thing. I knew exactly what they were fishing for. People don't check on you out of kindness when scandal's involved, they check to get a front row seat. That's life. One night, after she came home from work looking like hell, my fiancée tried to put on her sweet little innocent voice again. "You know, babe, I think they're targeting me because I'm a woman in leadership. It's office politics." Yeah, right. Give me a break. I stared at her for a moment and calmly said, "You do you." Her face twitched just a bit. She was starting to sense I wasn't buying the act anymore. Meanwhile, HR had already looped in legal. That's when you know it's getting serious. Once the lawyers show up, it's no longer about gossip. It's about who's going to lose their job first. Long story short, I made sure they had everything they needed. The recordings, the messages, screenshots, all of it. By all means, let them piece it together. It's cleaner that way. But here's where things got really interesting. Her boss, that genius, tried to play one last move. He sent me a text. "Maybe we can work something out privately, man to man." Are you kidding? I literally laughed. Go figure. That's Rich. I replied simply. You're out of line. Handle your business. End of the day, he knew I wasn't playing his game. For what it's worth, I even had backup files distributed to a couple trusted people. Not because I was scared, but because, frankly, I wanted to watch them sweat knowing the walls were closing in. You cross the line like that, you pay for it. Bottom line. As the days passed, the tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. She kept trying to act normal, cooking dinner, fake little kisses, asking how my day was. Typical damage control. I just nod, answer with, Same old story. And keep my cool. I've seen worse. I've been there. But behind closed doors, HR was preparing for the kill shot. The internal audit was almost done. And both of them, my fiancée and her boss, were standing on thin ice that was starting to crack loud enough for everyone to hear. And trust me, brother, nothing surprises me anymore. You know, at some point, you stop wondering how low people can go. You just watch them dig. After weeks of this silent game, the internal audit finally dropped like a hammer. HR scheduled emergency meetings, legal got involved on both sides, and suddenly the whole office was buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. Let's be real, they both knew the ship was sinking. I remember coming home that evening, and my fiancée was sitting at the table, staring dead ahead, pale as a ghost. She tried that weak little smile again. Hey babe, everything's fine. Just some office politics getting out of hand. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, You sure about that? For the first time, she couldn't hold eye contact. That's when you know someone's drowning. Bottom line, her boss got suspended pending the investigation. And not gonna lie, seeing that HR email was satisfying in a way I can't even describe. But here's where it gets rich. Couple nights later, her boss, or should I say, ex-boss, called my personal phone again. This time? Full-on begging mode. Listen man, I know we started rough, but this is bigger than us. You don't want her dragged into this. We can settle things. Are you kidding? Seriously? I actually laughed. You brought this on yourself. You don't get to negotiate your way out after you've crossed the line. He paused, desperate, then said, You'll ruin her life too. I calmly replied, That's on you. You made your choices. Handle your business. Then I hung up. And yeah, that was the last time he ever dared call me. But my fiancée? She wasn't done squirming yet. Couple days later she pulled her final card, tears. I come home, she's sitting on the floor like some cheap drama scene, sobbing. I made a mistake. I was scared. He manipulated me. Please don't let them fire me, I need this job. Honestly? I sat down across from her, dead calm. You think I care about your job at this point? After everything? You played your game. Now deal with the consequences. She kept crying, tried to grab my hand. I didn't want to lose you, that's why I lied. Give me a break. Unbelievable. I pulled my hand back. Lied? You were never planning to stop. You didn't care until you got caught. That shut her down. She sat there crying, hoping I'd fold like before. But not this time. Not anymore. If I'm being real, she wasn't crying because she regretted what she did. She was crying because she finally lost control. And you know what? Watching her crumble like that was her real punishment. No screaming. No fighting. Just cold, hard reality settling in. The audit wasn't even fully wrapped up yet, but by now, both of them were circling the drain. And me? I was already 10 steps ahead. Because like I said, nothing surprises me anymore. 6. You said? ChatGPT said. Alright, brother, let me rewrite that full part in proper native, man-style English for your audience 30+, no fluff, all real, all immersive. Here's Act 5, continued, fully in English, keeping that emotional pull. Truth is, after that scene with her fake tears, I didn't even feel angry anymore. It was just disgusting. You know, it's not that she regretted what she did, she only regretted getting caught. There's a big difference. Let's be real, if I hadn't found those messages with her boss, this would have gone on for God knows how long, and I would have sat there like an idiot thinking we had some strong relationship. The next few days she played her new card, the apologetic fiancé trying to save what we had. Dinners, little romantic gestures, fake tears on demand. And I just sat there, calmly watching, thinking, unbelievable. She still didn't realize how far gone she was. One evening, she walks into my office and says, Maybe we should go to counseling, fix things before it's too late. I look her dead in the eye, take a sip of my whiskey and say, We're way past counseling, sweetheart. She starts again. Please, I was scared. You work so much, I felt neglected, I needed attention. Seriously? Give me a break. That's your excuse? Instead of talking to me, you pick screwing my boss? Not even surprised, honestly. After that night, she realized the manipulation wasn't working anymore. At that point, my attorneys were already working overtime, engagement contract, asset division, locking up the joint accounts. And that's when it finally hit her, the financial pain was coming. Up to that moment, she actually thought I'd just walk away quietly and leave everything behind. How cute. The next day, another episode. Her mother shows up, Yeah, my future mother-in-law. She barges into the house, skips any greetings, and starts right away. I raised my daughter right. You were cold to her. Men like you push women into other men's arms. I mean, really? I look at her and say, watch yourself, ma'am. Your daughter made her choices. Don't test me. She gasps like she's offended. You're heartless. No, I just stopped being blind. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. What a joke. Honestly, this whole family deserves each other. Meanwhile, at work, the heat was building. My boss, one step away from being fired. The legal team was digging through all his emails, financials. HR had already suspended him from his duties. I kept my distance, silently playing every move. And that's when the real circus started. Calls from people I barely knew. Mutual friends, coworkers, even some of her old friends from back in the day. Suddenly, everyone became an advisor. You should forgive her, man. Don't ruin her career. Be the bigger man. Yeah, right. I calmly responded every single time. She crossed the line. That's on her. Not my circus, not my monkeys. And that's when you realize, people don't care about what's right, they just want things to be comfortable again. But comfort was gone. I couldn't care less what anyone thought. I was finishing what she started. Because this wasn't about the relationship anymore, this was about self-respect. And honestly, I felt lighter. With every phone call, every guilt trip, every one of her pathetic games, it just confirmed I was right to stay cold, calculated, and fully in control. That's how you win these wars. Cold. Focused. Without emotion. To be honest, that's when the real fun started. You know that feeling when you're no longer reacting emotionally but simply executing? That was me. I had every piece lined up. My attorney called me that Monday morning. We've officially frozen all joint assets. Her credit cards tied to your accounts are suspended. The prenup violations you sent, strong case. I smiled. Bottom line? This was the part she never thought would come. You see, for months she enjoyed the benefits of playing the double life, my money, my status, my home, all while sneaking around behind my back. But now, every safety net she thought she had was gone. A few days later, I get this desperate call from her lawyer. Is there any way we can sit down and have a civil discussion? She's emotionally fragile. I laughed. Seriously? Tell her to get a job. We're done here. No surprise there. They thought playing the emotional victim card would somehow guilt me into softening the deal. Not gonna happen. Then came her boss. Now that was Rich. He calls my office personally, real nervous, trying to play damage control. Hey man, can we maybe talk? I think we've got some misunderstandings here. I cut him off. Misunderstandings? You mean you sleeping with my fiancée while signing my bonuses? That misunderstanding? He stuttered. Look, I care about my job. This was personal. I chuckled. Well, guess what, buddy? HR doesn't care if it was personal. And trust me, HR was already deep into it. He was under investigation for sexual misconduct, multiple conflicts of interest, and potential financial improprieties. The man wasn't just losing his job, he was facing lawsuits. Frankly, couldn't have happened to a better guy. In all fairness, that wasn't even personal revenge anymore, it was just justice. Meanwhile, her mask kept slipping. I started hearing from old friends of hers, women I barely knew before. One even messaged me. Honestly, I always wondered how you put up with her. She was talking to multiple guys even before your engagement. That's life, right? People always show their true faces when the house burns down. But let's be real, the most pathetic part came one night when she actually tried one last romantic attempt. She shows up at my house, uninvited. Makeup, dress, acting like we're about to have some deep emotional reunion. I know I made mistakes, but you still love me. You always said you'd protect me. Don't throw us away. I stared her down. Protect you? You threw me away. You made your bed, now sleep in it. She tried to touch my hand, whispering. I was scared. I didn't think you'd care that much. I pulled my hand back. Wrong move. You thought I wouldn't care because you thought I was weak. That's your problem. She froze. Tears started rolling, but at that point, no sympathy left. It always ends the same, they cry when consequences finally show up. A week later, her credit was destroyed, her name tied to breach of contract, my attorney filed for full asset control, and HR finalized the dismissal of her lover. Honestly, nothing surprises me anymore. This was always headed here, she just never saw it coming. And you know what? Not my problem. To be honest, by the time everything wrapped up, I wasn't even angry anymore. You hit a point where you stop feeling anything, you just watch it all fall into place. You know, like watching the final domino tip over. She lost the apartment first. The place we used to call our home, yeah, that one, repossessed after defaulting on payments she thought I'd keep covering. I warned her. Handle your business or lose everything. She chose to play games. Not my problem. Then came the job offers drying up. Turns out, when your little affair hits the HR desk and legal teams start sniffing around, people stop picking up your calls. Go figure. Her reputation? Torched. Nobody wants to hire someone who tried to play both sides, especially when the guy you betrayed has friends sitting on executive boards. Let's be real, this world's smaller than most people think. You don't burn bridges with people who know how to pull strings. And then, of course, came the money problems. I get a text one morning. Can we please talk? I need your help, just for a little while. Seriously? Give me a break. After everything, she still thought I was that same guy who jumped to fix her mess. I didn't even answer. She called. I let it ring. She called again, left voicemails, long, crying voicemails, how she was. Sorry. How she. Never meant for things to go that far. How she was. Scared and didn't know how to stop. Yeah, right. Same old story. I mean, let's be fair, you were perfectly fine when you thought I was clueless, right? You weren't scared then. You were just having fun behind my back while spending my money. Now you're scared? That's on you. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Meanwhile, her boss? He wasn't much better off. Fired, blackballed from the industry, lost his pension, under investigation for a few side deals we dug up along the way. Bottom line? He played the wrong game with the wrong man's life. You've got to be kidding me if you think I had even a drop of sympathy left. Months later, I ran into one of her friends at a mutual friend's wedding, one of the few people who actually stayed neutral through the whole thing. She pulled me aside, almost whispering like it was some dark secret. You know, she still talks about you like you're the one that ruined everything. Like you turned into some monster. I laughed. Let her talk. People like her always need to make themselves the victim. Whatever works for her. I sleep fine. And that's the truth. End of the day, I walked out of that mess clean. She lost everything. I lost nothing but dead weight. If I'm being real, I should have done it sooner. But hey, lesson learned. That chapter's closed. She can play her games with someone else now. As for me, I'm good. Really good.